So I'm Yih. I'm the Executive Director of Cornerstone Community Services. And today's webinar is on COVID-19, Grandparenting, what you need to know. So before we start this evening's work talk, I'd like to take a simple poll to just get to know everyone and roughly how many of you are actually grandparents and how's your experience in your grandparenting journey. Okay, so let's poll. Okay. So do you see the poll right now? So if you do see a poll, the first poll will be one where you will answer on how often do you meet your grandchildren before the circuit breaker? Is it every day, weekdays only, once or twice a week, once a month, or hardly? Okay, so just more for us to get a feel of how many actually do spend a lot of time with your grandchildren, or some are more ad hoc that you will catch up with your grandchildren. Yeah. All right. And if you have done that, so for those who have the mobile phones and iPads, you can actually touch the screen and indicate your answers. But for those who are on the computers, you can actually use your mouse and navigate and click on the answer that best applies to you. Yeah. Okay. So if you are good, we can move on to the next poll. And assuming that most of you are grandparents, so how would you rate your current experience as a grandparent? Fantastic. Oh, I love my grandchildren. They're so cute and fun, you know, or they are good. Okay, can be better. Wow, very challenging. Okay, so maybe you can take some time to just do another poll for me. Okay, so just to get a feel as well. So while you're finishing up the last poll, I will just continue to give you a bit of background about myself. So I mentioned that I run Cornerstone Community Services. My background is I'm a registered social worker who has been in the social service sector over 20 years. And I was in prison for 7 years, can you believe it? But as a prison officer, doing rehab work, helping young offenders and rehabilitate and get back to society. After my stint in prison, I was released and I've joined Cornerstone to do more preventive work to help also strengthen families that are in need as well. So for me, I'm married with 3 children for 13 years. My youngest is a 3-year-old and my oldest is in primary 3 right now. Okay, so have you got the poll done yet? So I hope everyone has kind of polled a bit. Let me just check the results. Yeah. So, with the increasing demands of dual income families and expectation on children's, grandparents have become a very important role. I think this is a workshop that you hardly see or hear about, but yet it is so important because personally, for me, for my household, grandparents play an important role. And we are in a time of age when things are very different. Even as a parent, as a practitioner, I thought I would know everything by the time I have my kids. But yet when my kids come, I realize that things are very different. Every generation is different. Yeah, and what more now, there's this unprecedented, situation called the COVID-19. And to make it worse, we have this circuit breaker that we're all stuck at home. So there's a lot of things that we need to relearn, like even simple things like going to the supermarket, you must check, oh, what's my IC, even or odd. Can I go today or cannot? Yeah, or even things like getting your lunch, keeping in touch, attending talks like this also. Yeah. So grandparenting is a new topic like I mentioned, and today I'll share based on my limited, whatever limited research that is currently available, and also a lot of it is based on my experience working with families and my own family journey as well. Okay. Okay, so we have done the polls. Yeah, so you might be interested to find out what we've got, who we have in the midst of us. So in the first poll, I think majority of our grandparents here that are with us tonight. Okay, let me just look at the results. Yeah, majority sees them once or twice a week. A handful is actually staying with them on a daily basis, and some of them they are there with them on weekdays. So I assume that they help with the daily caregiving and as well. Some hardly. And how would you rate your grandparent experience? Okay, very encouraging to know our highest rating is still fantastic. That's good. Fantastic, good. And I think there are some that are feeling a bit challenging and feel that it can be better. So I hope that tonight will be a time that we can probably give you some handles how to make grandparenting a more enjoyable journey and something that you can look back and say, yeah, it was fun, on this journey. Yes. So tonight's workshop really will focus on quite a few things. We want to help grandparents to understand the role of parents and the development needs of grandchildren in this current context, in this day and age, given the environment that we are in. Reflect on past parenting styles and understand your role as grandparents, and also at the same time, how can you provide positive support to the parents and grandchildren? And we also share some tips on how you can communicate effectively and be able to resolve issues constructively. So we have generally 3 types of parents. So we have got the remote, the companionate, and the involved. So the remote will be like, for some of you, you hardly see your grandchildren. And some of them could be because they're overseas, or they are staying quite far away, or you could be the companionate ones that your grandchildren will see you once or twice over the weekends where you have fun, you cook for them, they tell you stories of what's happening. But I guess there's a big proportion here that are more involved grandparents. You're helping support the daily care of children, from providing meals, bringing them to school, taking care of them till the parents come back for work. Let's start, to understand, the role as grandparents, we need to understand what are the needs of your grandchildren. And I think first of all, I must say that, being grandparents now, you have first successfully raised your children, so you must pat yourself on the back. And then now they even got married and started their own families. So double congratulations that you have really, taught and put in so much sacrifices in the years and come this far with your family. So I think it's something that you also need to kind of encourage yourself, say, yeah, I have put in the effort to come this far, But yet, but I thought it's a good time to kind of revisit again, what was that journey like for a young child to grow up to a young adult? And for this discussion, I would like to just focus on this area, which is the yellow box, which actually will look at the difference between a child, maybe like a preschooler, to a young working adult. So what is the difference of this child and this young working adult? Usually in workshops, I would like to ask discussion, break into groups, throw out ideas. What do you think? What are some characteristics of this child? And what are characteristics of this adult? But because of this webinar format, I will quickly throw out some answers. So for a child, essentially, they are very dependent on needs. They can't get around on their own, like especially when they're much younger, they can't take public transport. They are quite innocent. All that's in their mind is to have fun, to play, and physically they are changing, they are growing, from a small baby infant, cute little one, to one tall grown-up lady or young man, and for the adult, they are independent, mature, they can choose, they're responsible, they can take care of themselves, take care of family. But yet as an adult, sometimes life can be very stressful, and a lot of times when I work with the troubled teens, I say, which is better, you want to be a young person or an adult? Because like my girl who is in primary school, she said, oh, I can't wait to grow up to be like mommy, carry handbag, wear lipstick, doll herself up and just be like a lady, But interestingly, these teenagers, they tell you, actually one part of them wants to stay as a child, because child is fun. I don't need to clean up, I don't need to work, I just take money from my parents, I have fun. But I also want the freedom of an adult where I can go where I want, I can go travel, I can go shopping, I don't worry about finding a job. I don't want to be responsible. Yeah, so I think that is the dilemma a lot of our young people have, that they can't seem to grow up, and they find that they are straddled between these two parts of their growing stages. So I think roles as parents, I think that's what you probably would have done with your children growing up, is really to how do we teach them, and it's more than just lecturing, but how do we create an environment where they can learn and grow and eventually become independent. And I think this doesn't come automatically, because I believe a lot of us, in our workplace, in the community, you probably have seen some adults that behave almost like kids, and probably you've seen some young persons that are very resilient, that behave much more mature than people their age. So let's have just a quick reflection. So what are some of the common issues faced by current children and youth? Are they different from the time you were parenting your children? Yeah, think about it. What are you seeing in the news? What are you hearing? I think recent months and years, we hear a lot of this news, and this came up in July last year about suicide rates on an increase at 10%. And the significant one is really for boys aged 10 to 19, at a record of 19 cases compared to 7 in 2017. And for every adult suicide, out of 10, 7 were by men. So this is quite a disturbing fact. And I think sometimes in our culture, the cultural stereotypes like, boys don't cry, you just have to suck it up and move on with life, doesn't help some of them, get the help they need to address some of their inner hurts and pains as well. Yeah, and even for our young children, why are young children committing suicide at such a young age? Shouldn't they be at their most happiest time of their life, where they don't need to worry about anything? And some of these kids are from good families, and they are high achievers in their schools as well. So what went wrong? So that's just one of the issues that I think as a nation they are really looking into. Mental health is a big thing. As you can see, there are many campaigns out there. So there are also a whole variety of other issues that are affecting our generation of young people. From depression, anxiety, there are a bit more reported cases. I mean, personally, if you ask me, I talked to a few friends, some of the kids are struggling with it. Anger bullying, there's a lot more aggression, and bullying is not just physical punching, but it's really online, cyberbully, addictions, not just drugs, but gaming, gadgets, special needs. You get to see more kids with different needs, learning disabilities, sexuality issues related contents are also on the up, relationships issues, obesity also, and I think this thing of being entitled, that entitlement, like even for me with kids, sometimes I feel that they feel that they are very entitled. They feel that they everything's a need, it's not a want. And I think sometimes it's a result of the affluence that we have as parents, because now a lot of our families, we have both parents working, and we have the means to give our children the best, but sometimes giving them the best doesn't help them to realize that actually, they are getting the best, and they might not appreciate what they have. So these are some of the current issues that they face, and here are some of the causes. Okay, so what causes these issues will be, one big area called media. Media is really not very helpful, but it can be helpful as well, but it's not helpful because there's all kinds of information going around. And if our young person is not discerning enough, they are not able to tell the truth from the fake. And with social media, Instagram, the peer pressure becomes very real, and things are not contained in a space, not as if in the old days as you're familiar with. Technology is a big thing. Too much screen time. Kids are getting more impatient. Everything must be now, and I want it now. In the past, you want to watch a TV show, we have to look at 8 days, decide which day, what time slot, which channel I'm going to watch this program. But now you can go on to Mio TV. If you have no patience for that, you can go on YouTube, you can go on Netflix. There are so many avenues you can get the instant solution to a lot of your questions. So technology is something that has made parenting a bit more challenging in this time and age. Diet has also not been helpful. Too much sugar, especially with lockdown time. I think now we are seeing a lot of these issues surfacing when they're spending too much screen time. They're having too much sugary foods, that they get very restless because they can't go to the playground. So they're like running mad in the house, right? Nowhere to to drain out their energies. and for these young ones, there's also a lot more resources and options for them. Their world is much bigger than my time. Our time when we go holiday, well, we are fortunate to even go Malaysia, but now with cheap air travel, our kids are traveling everywhere. They've even been to some exotic places which that I've not even been to. But the result of all these affluence is that there are higher expectations from their parents, because parents are more successful, they are more educated, and unknowingly these expectations get put onto the children. They say that, you have nothing to worry about, so you just study as hard as you can. But also the other big issue where family structures and relationships are also breaking down. A lot of blended single families, and I think with technology, a lot of the human connections have been lost. We don't know how to sit down and have conversations anymore. We rather text than talk on the phone. Yeah. So these are just general issues that I think our young people are struggling. Yeah. So like you see the article over here talks about toddlers 2 and below, they should not even be going on iPad because it really will slow down the child's development. So there are many of such literature out there that talks about these things as well. So specific to COVID-19, we find that our young ones at home are very distracted. Some of them are more disciplined. That's great. They might struggle to comply with their home routine, follow the deadlines that you have set, and they're simply very bored at home. They tend to be glued to gadgets, or even teenagers. They're always stuck on their phone, talking to their friends, and they're always up to some mischief, getting in trouble with their siblings or disturbing their parents when they're trying to make a conference call. So it's created a lot of tension in the homes as well. So parents are upset over the kids' behavior. They're also stressed because of their work, and also maybe some of their work are also impacted by the financial situation. And I'm not sure for some of the kids, they really look forward to visiting their grandparents, and now that they're unable to visit, they are feeling like very frustrated. Yeah. So these are some things that our kids are struggling right now. I mean, it might not be everything, but I think in one way or another, every kid is affected with this current COVID situation. So next, I'm going to move on to parents. So understanding the children, we want to also understand what the parents' role is, so that we can, sing the same tune with what the parents are doing. Okay, if any questions, you can feel free to drop a note at the chat box. You can see a chat box at your side. You can tap a message in as well. Yeah. So yes, so I was talking about role of parents. So what you see here is an orchestra. Okay. And in an orchestra, that there are different instruments, there are different melodies that they play. By the end, they come together to form a beautiful orchestral piece. And similarly, running a household, we have different roles, different people doing different things. And at the end, we need a conductor to come and lead everyone and to move ahead as a family. And your adult child is stepping into that position. For the past many years, you have been the one leading your family, conducting, bringing everyone together, guiding, making sure that everyone, gets what they need, grows up well, have no issues and struggles. So now is the time for your child to step up, and are you willing to step aside and give them that space to lead their own families, to also compose their own tunes that's unique to their family, but yet have you involved as a key player in this orchestra. So it is important that everyone who's working together, interacting with the grandchildren are all, reinforcing the same values and that we are all promoting. And I think by now you have realized that parenting has to do more than the present. Really you're preparing a child for a future. And a person's character is of one's destiny. And I think for that, you probably have seen it in your own children, even as they grow up, and where they are now, even as they start their own family. And the truth is a lot of our parents now are struggling, right? A lot of times you are just struggling to the day to day, can you finish your homework? What are you going to eat for lunch? Have you bathed? Have you packed, your books? Okay, what are you going to do later? Yeah, and it's really almost like a firefighter putting out little fires every day. But let me share with you a story about this that this mother shared with me. She had a teenage boy who came back from secondary school camp. So she asked him, have you had lunch? Then he like, yeah. Then she's like, oh, so what do you eat for lunch? Chicken rice or? Then she's like, how's the chicken? Right? Chicken rice, there's good and bad chicken rice, right? And then he said, no, I didn't eat the chicken because got bones. And she's like, huh? So the background of this story was this boy's birth mom passed away when he was very young due to sickness. And his father single-handedly brought up 3 boys and with the help of a helper. So imagine, with a helper, every day, from young, when they have meals, they will take 3 bowls, put the meat, cut up, take out all the bones, put the vegetable, everything prepared. And then they'll just feed the kids, from young. And I believe that this is that same process that continues all the way to their teenage years. And unfortunately, because of the convenience or the fear of kids choking on the bone, they have robbed a child of learning how to learn, to discern, to spit out the bones, and to grow in independence. Yeah. So a lot of times, there are many learning opportunities. I guess as a parent, you need to weigh and to see when your children is ready to move to the next level, to do the next thing. Yeah. So I think as parents, we need to help children find their purpose in life. Kids can't see very far. They are just here and now. I want it now. But parents, grandparents can give them a glimpse of how things can be like down the road. Yeah. So here is a typical 4 parenting styles that I think is quite thoroughly researched. Research has shown that there are certain styles that help individuals grow up to be healthy adults. There are certain styles that creates more problems later in life. And let me just quickly take you through this few styles. The first one is authoritarian parenting. So maybe you just think through all these statements, whether does it sound like me last time, or does it sound like me now as a grandparent? Okay, so authoritarian parent will be the one in the yellow box. You believe kids should be seen and not heard. And when it comes to rule, you believe it's my way or the highway. And you don't take your children's feelings into consideration. Okay, so this is very fierce one, like police, the army officer, right? And a lot of times children of these parents grow up, having very low self-esteem because they have never had a voice. Sometimes they might end up becoming rebellious, aggressive, and they might grow into, good liars. They can put up a very false front and yes, but in the back, you don't know what they are doing. And I've seen cases of this where kids are living double lives and the parents have no clue what's happening to them. The second one's the pink one, which is what I call permissive parenting. You set rules, yes, but it's okay lah, today no need to follow. Yeah, now it's COVID lah. COVID is okay, no need to punish, you don't give out consequences very often. You think your child will learn best with little interference from you. So kids with such parents will grow up struggling academically because I think they are not trained. They might also have more behavioral problems because they don't appreciate authority and rules. They will also have a lot of sadness, low self-esteem, and they might even have health problems because there's no one to look into what they're eating, and they'll probably get to eat whatever favorite chocolate that they like. Yeah, so usually these kids will grow up with a lot more issues. The third one is the purple one, which is what I call the uninvolved parenting. Okay, you don't care about your child's homework or school. You're just overwhelmed. You come back, you just sit there. You rarely know where your child is, who is she hanging out with, and you don't spend much time with your child. And these kids grow up with really a lot of self-esteem issues as well, and they tend to perform poorly in school. And there are also a lot of frequent behavioral problems, and they rank low in happiness. So they're actually quite sad children as well. And the last one, which is the blue one, which is the one that we always encourage parents to work towards, which is what we call authoritative parenting. Okay, you put a lot of effort into creating and maintaining a positive relationship with your child. You explain the reasons behind your rules. You enforce rules and give consequences, but take your child's feeling into consideration. Okay, so usually these will come up a bit more well-adjusted, that's what we put it, and they are more better able to make decisions as well. So I think looking at these 4 styles, I think the intent is not to make you feel bad as a parent, oh no, last time I was like that. But it's really to grow in awareness, to understand what was our past experience. Because I think in the past, there was not much opportunity to learn. There's not much literature to even read about parenting. But yet now, with so much evidence, with so much literature out there, we have more information and we can make more informed choices on how we can parent, with much focus and intention. Okay, because a lot of times how you parent is based on what your parents parented you. A lot of times we either continue what our parents taught us, monkey see, monkey do, or we can say, no, my mom last time was very strict. Now I'm going to let my child do everything they want. So you can swing from the authoritarian parenting style to the permissive. So at least now with this, we know that, okay, what is the general direction we should all work towards? So there's no your way, my way, but this is the best, the recommended way based on research findings. Okay, but the truth is we also have to be aware that now as grandparents, sometimes our standards will vary, right? You tend to, yeah, it's okay lah, compared to when you're young. I remember an incident when I had my first kid, so my husband was asking my mother-in-law, hey, maybe you should buy a cane, to stand by when she was hitting 3 years old, and my mother said, no, cannot buy cane. I'm like, huh, why? Then he said, last time you caned me, so why now cannot? They said, oh no, now cannot. Times are different. They'll call you child abuse. Yeah. So things are different now, and I think the good thing is we have tools to help instill discipline in a child, and we don't need to resort to using the cane, most of the time. Yeah. So yeah. So how's everyone doing? Good. Okay. Next slide. So I think very unique to Singapore is always intelligence, right? Your results, what are you going to be when you grow up? A lot of people ask, oh, what are you going to be a grow up? Are you going to be a lawyer, doctor, engineer? I think a lot of our parents are very concerned about, really livelihood, because I think they came from a generation where this is very important, to be able to hold a job that pays well, that can sustain you and your family in the years to come. But I'd like to challenge you to also look beyond intelligence, but also understand that there's this other element called EQ, emotional quotient, that is more important. Basically, how do you learn to relate to people? How do you read people? How do you understand people and empathize with people such that you can make better decisions? Yeah. So and EQ is really a lot about values, about knowing when to do the right thing, and it's about building character. Working in prisons, I've seen many brilliant people ending up in prison. They have the intelligence, but they just have the wrong values. So raising a kid, we always have to make sure that it's a fine balance between, being smart, clever, but also making sure that you have good character, like what was mentioned earlier at the beginning. Yeah. And a lot of times, our kids actually don't like it, when we compare their results with other people. My son once shared that, actually he said, I don't like, grandma, sometimes in the lift, after school, then you're like, oh, how's your grandchildren so quiet? Then say, no lah, my granddaughter very quiet, but my grandson always like to play. I don't like to do homework, very lazy. So he was like, hey, like that, and then come back. But there was one night, before he slept, he actually was like quite sad, tearing a bit. And then he tells me, Mommy, I'm very sad, I don't like it when Nana, tells me like, say I'm lazy, I don't do homework, and children do get affected. It's a matter whether they tell you or not, And so I help him to process and say, do you know why Nana say that? No, I say, yeah, because, I always play, I don't do a homework. So then he say, then I told him, why don't you share Nana how you feel, so that she knows, that kind of statement does not help you, And so he actually shared the grandma, and the grandma since then has stopped comparing, So I think it's really about communicating, sharing, how what we talk to each other impacts each other, and when we're able to be more considerate and more thoughtful about our words, we find that family life can be actually better. Yeah. So overemphasis on intelligence can really also stress out a lot of kids. A lot of kids they find that if you don't study hard, I won't love you. If you don't listen to me, I won't love you. I love you if you listen to me. And a lot of times, their sense of worth and love as a person is dependent on a lot of their achievements, But yet that is not how things are, because if a child's love and worth is based on what they can achieve based on their results. So the day when their results are poor or they fail, they will find that, oh, my whole sense of worth as a person will be gone. Yeah. And that is why a lot of children have lost hope, because all they hear is, if you don't study hard, I won't love you. You must study hard, then mommy will love you a lot, or grandma will love you. Yeah. So I think the key is really, how do we help our kids know that they are loved unconditionally, you know, but yet there are certain requirements that there are certain requirements, but maybe love unconditionally doesn't mean that we allow them to do whatever they want. Okay, when you say we love them unconditionally, it means that there's acceptance. When they make a mistake, we will correct them, you know, and and they will make a change. Yeah. So love is not whether they succeed, they fail, they'll behave well behaved. You know, at the end of the day, our children, our grandchildren need to know that they are loved, okay, unconditionally, and because that connects to them as identity as a person. And this is really very important because I think being in a meritocratic society, you know, a lot of things are focused on our achievements, you know, and sometimes the achievements get tied to our identity as a person, and that is not very healthy. Because one day you will stop work, you will retire, and then so who am I now? You know, I'm no more the general manager, I'm no more the leader. You know, now I'm just a retiree sitting at home. So who am I, right? So really, the love is very important. And how do we help everyone feel loved in the home? And there's this 5 love languages that Dr. Gary Chapman has shared, you know, and this is one whole topic by itself. There are many books on it. You should pick it up, read it. You know, it talks about how do we fill up the love tank in our hearts. Because when you feel loved, you find that you're willing to do many things. You know, you're willing to take correction. You know, you're willing to accept, you know, things. You're willing to go the extra mile for one another. But when you feel that you're not loved, you'll always be, why are you always demanding from me? Why are you always, you know, scolding me? You know, why are you always not happy with me? There's a lot of resentment, a lot of grudge within our hearts. So I think before you talk about anything, you know, are we putting in the love that we all need? And this love is not just for your grandchildren, it's also for your adult children, also for your spouses, you know, and anyone that's around you, because we all need to feel loved. You know, especially during such challenging times that we feel like, well, everyone is just trying to, you know, there's no space, you know, everyone's just fighting to just survive, you know, in the house. You know, depending on if you are fortunate, your house is bigger, you have more space. If you are smaller, then you find that there's really no much space to really have for yourself, and it's time to really be gracious and to show love to one another in many ways. So read up on love languages. I will not go into it. So the important role is really to reinforce the love for our grandchildren, you know, and that is basically the role of the parent, is really to be their coach. First is to really affirm their worth. So by speaking the love languages, you are affirming their worth as a person. Whether they pass or fail their things here, whether they are successful in clinching the best job, you know, or whether they have, you know, they have managed to make their children eat up all the vegetables on their plate, you know, but it's to affirm them as a person, you know, for who God has created them. You know, the next thing you need to do as a parent is really to guide them, you know, when they are unsure, you know, to correct them when they are wrong, and also to encourage them when they fail. And sometimes when they're a bit lost, you know, to inspire them, you know, because eventually, you know, your kids will have to play the game of their own life, you know, just as in a basketball game, right? The coach cannot play in the match. The coach can only train, you know, teach them some tips and techniques, you know, cheer them on when they're on the losing side, and teaching them re-strategizing for the team. But at the end, the team needs to play the game themselves. And that's the role as parents, is really to prepare our kids so that they can play their game of life. You know, and the role of parent, I must say that it is not limited to just young children, but I think right now, even as grandparents, you are also still a parent to your adult children. You know, but your role is really more than just guiding, you know, correcting, but a lot more of encouraging them as well. Because I think in a culture, we are very quick to correct. You know, like sometimes, like I bring my kids to my mom's house, and it's like, yo, why your children like that, you know, like then I like, oh, okay, I feel as my mom, you know, there's an expectation that my mom has for me as, you know, as a mother, you know, and sometimes it's like, you know, we are trying our best, you know, we are learning. Yeah, so I think it's really to, sometimes we'll need encouragement from our own mothers, you know, our own fathers. Yeah, and this is something that is very real, because like even for my husband, you know, he's a very hands-on kind of a dad, you know, and when he asks, you know what, because we were doing this little chit chat and we were saying, hey, you know, why don't we think about what you're good as, you know, as a dad, and then you evaluate me, what am I good as a mom. So he thought about it, and it took a while, you know, he couldn't come up with like 5 things he was good at as a father. And then I said, okay, never mind, you talk about me, you know, what do you think, am I a good mom? And he rattled 5 things very quickly, you know. And I realized that even as confident as he is as a father, there's also certain they always feel that I'm not good enough, especially in the area of parenting. And I think a lot of times fathers need to be encouraged that they are doing a good job. And that's your role as grandparents, that you can also encourage your adult children that, hey, you are doing a good job, While even this a newborn, wow, you managed to kind of, wrap up your child nicely without the diaper dropping, or the swaddle cloth dropping and things like that. Really to be like their mini cheerleader to say, come on, you can do it, you don't have enough sleep, but it's okay, you'll get better along the way. Yeah, so really, I think for us as adult children, we always appreciate the extra word of encouragement, the cheer we get from our parents as well. So grandparents, don't just focus on your grandchildren, but remember your adult children also need you to rah-rah them as well, okay? Yeah, so parents' role, and I think the key thing, I think for some grandparents, they're a bit frustrated, like, so why are my grandchildren why can't they sit still and listen? Not like, like last time, last time they would sit still, listen, and obey, but now these kids are really hard to manage, and let me suggest 5 reasons why children behave badly. Firstly, it's really, especially for the younger ones, when they're tired, they're hungry, you find that their minds just switch off, they cannot control, they cannot think, they are just like, yeah. But think about it, I was listening to another talk on stress management for adults, and they talk that even for adults, tiredness and hunger and stress is also a trigger, that when we are feeling tired and hungry, it will affect us. So to do things that we normally would not do. Yeah, so it's something to think about, when you see your grandchild misbehave. It's not to be quick to just say, oh, sit down, I'm going to cane you, if you don't sit down, but to understand what's happening. Are you hungry? Are you tired? And to understand that they are still developing emotionally, so they struggle to sometimes articulate or to even express what they're going through. There's also that psychological hunger where they need a lot of stimulation. Like my son, he's a very kinesthetic person, so he needs to keep his hands busy. So there are some period when I was young, in the car with the sibling, he likes to disturb the sister. So, and the sister obviously didn't like it. So what we did was we asked him to bring some toys, Legos, cars. And when he's in the car, when he plays with all these things, he actually stops disturbing and was very, very happy, So I think it's really to understand what is driving them to that behavior. And when we are able to address the root of it, you find that you can better get a solution to it. So same thing, in the COVID situation, you find that it's because, there's no space for everyone to play, and everyone's just crossing, so you might want to like designate some space, and give each other attention, because this is the time where, like, even for recognition, like our children sees the parents at home, but they cannot be with the parents because the parents are busy at work, so they'll be like climbing on them, and then the parents like, go away, and sometimes it can be very frustrating. So understanding their need for attention, then it gives us a better grasp of what we need to do, and how do we then structure our time to make sure that kids get this kind of stimulation or recognition that they need as they go along the day. Yeah, a lot of times kids behave badly is also because we are stressed. Especially if there are quarrels in the house, disagreements, they pick it up, and then they might just act out on it, and they might never know why they're acting out like that. And this is very true. And sometimes they behave because we are just provoking them. Yeah, so sometimes the words we say can be kind of hurtful. It can make them go in a rage or even trigger their fear. And because their brains are still developing, when they are rage or fear, they tend to either fight or they flight. So personally, I find that there are 2 areas that we want to develop for the younger kids. I mean, even in this age where with technology, there's a importance to develop self-control. Yeah, so self-control is really the ability to control our emotions, our behavior, and desires. So that you can really get what you want or avoid some punishment. And it's really about more than just threatening, saying, oh, if you don't do this, I'm going to cane you. But really, the goal of self-control is really eventually for the child to learn to restrain. Because whenever restrained, they are able to not act upon impulse. When they don't act on impulse, they will not do a lot of stupid things as well. Yeah. So for example, the goal of every parent is, I wish my child would just sit there and do their homework without me nagging at them every day. So that's something that is an ongoing process. It will not say that you do it for one day and then when next day the child is fine. And self-control is this part that is developed by the prefrontal cortex. So this part of the brain actually takes 25 years to fully mature. And this is the part of brain that kind of regulates the body to do restraint. Yeah. But the good news is you don't need to wait till they're 25 for this to be fully developed. It can actually be developed earlier, when we are able to put structure and discipline in their life as well. Yeah. So this also actually help you understand like why sometimes teenagers can't think. It's very common sense. Just wait. Don't do this. But yet it is not common to them because there's this part of their brain that there's no gate to control. It's just free flow. So whatever they want to do, they just run with it. Yeah. So the big thing about developing self-control is really setting up boundaries. We need to set up some rules, but with the rules, we also need to have some consequences so that rules without consequences is not effective. Yeah. And most kids don't like rules, right? I mean, remember the times when we were young, we didn't quite like rules in school, we didn't like rules in the house, and we sometimes work towards breaking it or getting around it. And in working with young people, a lot of times, I had to try to explain to them why these rules are important. And sometimes I use this analogy, and you can even use it with your grandchild. Imagine this MBS tower, right? I guess some of you might have gone up to the Sky Garden. Very nice. Have you gone to the edge of the Sky Garden? Where there's a little wall boundary. Yeah. Imagine if there's no wall boundary, would you step to the edge of the Sky Garden, or you rather stay inside as far as you can from the edge? If there was a boundary, you probably dare to venture all the way there, or even lean over to see what's over at the other side. And that's the thing about boundaries. Boundaries provide safety for our children. It helps them know the consequences of their behavior, and also helps them take responsibility for what they should or what they should not do. So this is really part of the process of developing internal understanding of why they need to do what they do, rather than pure compliance, which is very external. Okay, so grandparents, your role is very important. You can either help reinforce these boundaries, or you can actually help to tear down these boundaries. And sometimes some of the common pitfalls that grandparents clash with parents is they try to take over the parents' role, and change the rules, or better still, they ignore the boundaries, or worse still, they pretend the boundaries there, but they do things outside and they keep secrets from parents. And secrets are actually a very dangerous thing, because you don't want kids to have this habit of having secrets, because there are times where they need to learn to be honest and upfront with the parents, and especially with this age of internet, there's a lot of things that are out there that the kids need to be able to verbalize so that their safety is not jeopardized. Yeah. So one typical example of this boundary pushing is like in my family, we tell kids like on weekdays there's totally no YouTube, you're not on gadgets, you just have to watch TV and do your usual stuff. You only get to watch YouTube on weekends. And sometimes kids being kids are quite smart, so they'll try to manipulate the grandma, and say. Then sometimes they're like, oh, okay, if I finish my homework, you let me look at your phone, okay? Or if grandma's looking at phone, they will like sneak over and peek over, and then slowly, convince grandma to change to watch whatever they want to watch. Yeah, so having these loopholes is not helpful, because at the end, the kids don't learn to do what they need to do. So we really need to help one another, right? So that our kids can learn to have internal restraint. So boundaries is not fixed at one age, but you find that, the boundaries, which actually are a lot of control, diminishes as the child grows older. But as the child grows older, you find that the focus is really more on the relationship, where there's a lot more reasoning, there's a lot more explanation, there's a lot more negotiation, and because eventually your teenager you cannot physically restrain your teenager anymore, and eventually they need to have the understanding of your heart towards them, and they need to know that you truly care for them and you care for their safety as well. Yeah, so you have to decide what are the battles to pick. So rules and consequences are very important. Part of developing self-control is really about having a discipline. It's like how in the military there's a certain discipline, there's certain instruction to teach to help them cultivate the internal control. And any technique that does not give life to a child's learning and does not leave a child's dignity intact cannot be called discipline. It's really pure punishment. Okay, so this discipline has to be consistent and it cannot fluctuate based on the mood of the parents. Kids try well when there is routine, when they know what to expect. They a lot of times they can accept the consequence if they were told beforehand about what was expected from them. So discipline, so high esteem boys do better, and really discipline is really about, not when you just do pure punishment, they feel unloved. When you restrain from punishment, they feel that they're unworthy. And the key is also when you want to discipline, you must differentiate between irresponsible and defiant behavior. So sometimes irresponsibility could be like, you flip over, you toppled something, you spilled something, you broke something, and the natural consequence is just go and clean it up. Okay, I know you nag at you, scream at you, punish you, ground you, but you just clean up. Or you break something, then we'll just have to use your pocket money to make some amends to it. But if they're defiant, they're hitting adults, disrespectful, and that will be something that for me in our house we would render some discipline. Yeah. So how do you discipline a child is really to show the child what they have done, give them ownership of the problem, give them options for solving the problem, and then leaving their dignity intact. So what they've done, you see, you're knocked over the cup, and spilled the water on the table. Okay, so you are the one that spilled it. So how do we solve this? So go and get a cloth from the kitchen, come and wipe it up, bring the cup to the kitchen, and then come back, clean another round, and then at the end you go off and do whatever you need to do. And remember, next time, please be careful, right? So it leaves at the intact, but you're looking at the behavior. So the key is really not to attack the person as a person, but really to look at the action that is coming out from that. Like I mentioned, you have to have it in advance, and it has to be consistent, very important. So the second area is really resilience. Even in my beginning, when I talk about like suicide, mental health issues, a lot of times it's because there's this lack of resilience. And lack of resilience is not because they are bad kids or they don't come from good homes, but sometimes they are just too good kids. They are so used to success, a smooth life, that when things go wrong, they don't know how to deal with it, right? So they feel hopeless, when they fail. Yeah. So resilience is something I think at the national level, we're also seeing how we can strengthen our young people to become stronger. So I think from a young age, okay, you don't need to wait till they go to school, but even as a preschooler, never do things do for them what they can do and should do for themselves. So simple things like packing up their toys. I've heard of cases where kindergarten kids are just sitting there, helpers wearing socks for them, wearing shoes for them, just short of like, walking for them, But out of this goodness, kindness of heart, out of love for that child, you're actually robbing them of a lot of learning moments for them. Okay, important that you do not praise their result, but really focus on the effort. For example, like your grandchild said, wow, you got full marks for maths. Wow, you're so clever. I'm so proud of you. Versus, wow, you got full marks for your maths. Wow, that's great. I heard from your mommy you studied very hard for it. I'm so happy for you. And research has shown that when you praise a child for the effort, they are more willing to try a different challenge. But when you praise a child based on the outcome, when you give them a tougher challenge later on in life, they are like, better not. What if I fail, right? Because I already got full marks there. What if I do this one, then I get 98 marks? Then, cannot. I would, I would disappoint those that love me. So really, building resilience is really helping them to focus on the effort, because effort is something no one can rob you of. Outcome is something that sometimes we can't control. And important is really we have to let them fail. And I think during the COVID-19, I think a lot of us are experimenting making bubble tea. So yes, and we did try making with my kids over the weekend, and I failed quite badly. I tried twice, I failed twice, and I almost threw in a towel, but I said, okay, for the sake of my children, I must make it a teachable moment. So I realized why I went wrong was that I used the wrong flour. So thereafter, I told my daughter, I said, okay, we're going to change the flour, and we successfully managed to make it. And really, the lesson for my kids is to say that it's okay to fail. We have the courage to keep trying. And sometimes failing is a lousy feeling, and sometimes we just have to sit with them and help them experience it and say, yeah, it sucks. We all don't like to fail, but it's okay. Let's try again, because you never know, the next one might be a success, right? And it takes a lot of courage to keep going. Yeah. So really, helping to build that resilience of not giving up, for kids who are not as academic inclined or maybe not as talented, the key is really how do you find their strengths that they are good at, so that they build their sense of competency. They're not just say, I'm just lousy in school, but no, you might be good in music, you might be good in sports, you might be good at cooking. There's so many things that we can be good at, So really helping, your role as a grandparent can really help discover what your grandchild is good at. Like like my mom would tell me, hey, your son, the one that is very playful and naughty, right? I said, actually, he's a very caring boy, like that day, I was at home and he came over and helped me with some chores and some things like that. Versus my other kids are all like running around playing, and sometimes as a grandparent, you can give positive feedback back to the parents so that sometimes, out of frustration, we only see all the mistakes that they've been doing at home. But as a grandparent, you can sometimes show the other side of your grandchild to your adult children and say, hey, your grandchild, your child is also capable of other areas, other strengths as well, and really to encourage the kids that it is hard versus I can't, right? I can't means I will try, but it's hard, but let's do it together, I'll do it with you. So COVID-19, good time to get your kids involved in doing household chores. When they do household chores, it's a way of training, it gives them ownership. If you wash your toilet, you will use it carefully, right? You won't mess it up, and it really gives them build a sense of identity and belonging to the family. Yeah. So looking at children, parents, and now we look at the grandparents. Yeah, how are we doing? Okay, we are a bit late because we started late, so I hope it's okay if we just continue. Yeah, but at any point if you need to go off, yeah, just feel free to exit. Yeah. So if you have questions, do drop in the chat box as well. We will answer the questions as we go along. Yeah, if you want, you can feel free to take pictures of the slides that you feel that are useful. So the fun thing about being grandparents are really that you are almost like parents, but you get more sleep because you don't need to attend to them at night. You have fewer rules, maybe, and you have lots of goodies that the kids like to come to you. And comparing, I was just talking to some grandparents, like, what's the difference? Really, grandparents, you're more relaxed, right? Because you're not fighting many battles out there. You're not thinking about your housing loan, you're not thinking about your work, you're not thinking about the finances, you're not about groceries you buy, you're not thinking about so many things. When you're a grandparent, it's like, what am I going to do today, and it's more focused on the grandchild, so the level of stress is a bit lower. So that's why I think generally some grandparents enjoy a bit more. Yeah, but for some they struggle a bit more, right? As kids, behavior is a bit more challenging. Yeah. So the key role of grandparents, be it one that you are a companionate or involved one, is really you are a source of values and beliefs. You share family identity, history with them, and you help them form their identity. And personally, for me, I grew up with my maternal grandmother, and I would say that she has been a strength in our family and in my and there are many values that I've picked up from her, like values of generosity and hard work. So you'll be surprised, what your grandchildren can glean from you, even as they spend time with you, hearing about your stories of how you struggled through the years, through the hard times and made it till this far. Yeah. Another key role is really to be positive and practical support. And I think this, I really have to applaud my mother-in-law. On a normal day, she helps with my kids, attending to their daily needs, and sometimes when a crisis happens, they will come in and do a stand-in, arranging for transport, or housing, or sometimes even just being a shoulder there for you to lament and ventilate about your struggles with your kids. Yeah. So in my house, what happened is, so with the current circuit breaker, we are all telecommuting. So at times, when I'm having a conference meeting, my husband will help my kids with online learning. So my mother-in-law will then help me with my younger one, the 3-year-old, which likes to run around and play, so that he doesn't disturb the other siblings. So this is how, the practical help, having extra hands and a person that knows your heart towards your kids, that you can trust your kids to, is really very helpful. Yeah. The last role of a grandparent is really to provide alternative perspective and emotional support, not just for the child, but also for the parent. Like I mentioned about how sometimes the grandparents can give the parent a fresh perspective of the child. And sometimes when the parents have to unleash certain discipline upon the kids, and the kids are obviously not very happy, at least sometimes they can run to the grandma, and then manja a bit, and then, oh, not fair, not fair. Then the grandma can then try to, reason out with them, help them to understand where their parents are coming from, and just give them a hug and, and maybe make their favorite drink or something like that, just to comfort them. And that's something that I appreciate, having a grandparent in the house, that sometimes, when parents get very agitated, and sometimes when you're agitated, you really need a timeout as well. And sometimes grandparents are really a great support, to also help to attend to the needs of the family. But it's important that when the children come to you to share with you, like, oh, not happy with daddy, why are they so mean, that you must be singing the same tune, remember? You should not be doing the blaming game. Yeah, your father, you see, last time he also like that to me, you see, now he also do that to you, and then stir up politics within the home, and that is something that that is not helpful in a family relationship as well. Yeah. So how do we communicate at home? Because communication is the key that glues a family together. And a lot of times it's not just about grandparents and grandchildren, but a lot of times also grandparents and parents. Ever stuck in a traffic jam? There was once I was stuck in a traffic jam where the lights just went out, and there were like buses, cars, lorries, all at this massive cross junction. And no one was really moving. Then suddenly this big, huge double-decker bus started moving, and then I quickly followed behind. And because as the double-decker bus moved, everyone just stopped, because this was a big bus coming and no one wants to get crushed by a big bus. And a lot of times at home communication, who gets to say their opinion, who gets to take charge of the conversation? Is the big bus, the one that has the loudest voice, the one that's fiercest, the one that has the power in the house, But to have real conversations, we need to be able to hear from everyone, because everyone has a different perspective. Everyone has a different goal that they want to achieve. And at the end, can we as a family come to a place where we can make everyone have a win-win situation, where everyone is happy? And sometimes that has to come with some compromise on each other's part as well. But are we willing to compromise because of our love for each other? So communicate. So what do we talk about? A lot of times we talk because we need to get things done. You sometimes want to share our ideas, our views, or in other words, our opinion. These two things that we are very used to doing. But there's these other two things that I encourage you to do more, which we talk to understand each other, to hear each other, to clarify their struggles, even in their current situation. Like, oh, with the COVID, how's your work? Are you very stressed? Is your boss always bugging you to do work? Are there deadlines for you as well? I know the kids have a lot of deadline. Do you understand the pressures that everyone's facing in the family? Do we show love and appreciation? Like, thank you for cooking a meal. I know you are busy, but this is really yummy, better than takeaway. Yeah. So what do we talk about? And I would challenge you to focus more on the latter two. I think we're very familiar with this 7-38-55 rule about how when we communicate, a big percentage is about our body language. Our tone of voice and our words are only just 7%. So imagine your kids see this face. What is the message that you think we're trying to convey? Is she happy? If a word say, I love you, but do you feel the love oozing from it? Or, I love you. I love you, that's why I scold you, that's why I do this for you, don't you appreciate, all these words, 7% goes to nothing. All the kid reads is angry, 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 angry. I better go somewhere to hide, or I better find a good reason to argue or to explain. So a lot of times, the way we respond doesn't help promote a conversation. It might even cause more defenses being put up. So effective communication is very important. It's almost like a thermostat in the house. If you do it well, it actually creates a very nurturing, healthy environment, very cozy and warm. But if you do it wrong, it can either be very cold and icy, or it can be really hot and heated. Yeah. So to have effective communication, you need to find the right time. You need to give full attention. You need to be mindful of your body language as well. And you must also listen to understand one another. So the whole objective is first to listen. If you can't listen, then we don't even want to start talking first, right? So we refuse to interrupt, right? When you want to listen, okay? Clarify. Sometimes you're very tempted to give an opinion when they are telling your story, right? Clarify. Like like, oh, my sister hit me, or why did your sister hit you? What were you doing before it? Trying to remain objective and partial. Not say, yeah lah, it must be your sister. Like, your sister always like to disturb you, and or your brother always like to disturb you. Sometimes you're very quick to jump into certain conclusion. Listen for feelings, observe body language, and say, oh, I can see that you're very tired, or you seem to be very upset, and are you struggling to focus on your studies? Do you want to take a break? Do you want to have a drink? And you can see that, you read, because sometimes for our grandchildren, they might not even be aware of what's happening to them. Yeah, so take time to understand, before you speak. So when you want to speak, you have to be mindful. Remember your tone of voice, gentle, softer. Words will be more polite, not you, blaming, right? It's like shooting. I remember I have a friend in secondary school, and this boy was like pointing fingers at her, and she was really very feisty, and then she actually bit the person's finger, and that's sometimes the reaction we that's the button that we press on our kids when we keep doing this, right? Yeah. So even if you don't agree with them, but sometimes can say that you need, the feelings are real. So you validate their feelings by saying, yeah, it's lousy, that your dad had to take your phone away, because you have been spending too much time on it. Yeah, it's very tough, right? You can't call your friends, you must be very frustrated. Yeah, empathy, right? You're not saying that that's right or wrong, but just saying that, yeah, you're feeling this is the situation, your handphone's confiscated and you are frustrated. Yeah. And then you might want to share perspective, especially for teenagers or even for adults. Well, you want to hear what I think about this situation, about whether what I think about what you can do to make it better, check, ask for a permission, because if unsolicited advice will be wasted energy, right? You can talk, but nothing goes over. So you might as well ask, especially for adult children, right? Do you want to hear from me? I got some ideas or some thoughts on what we can do to help the situation. Okay, so yeah, so be concise, and yeah, so in essence, really be quick to listen and slow to speak. I think that is really a guideline that I remind myself, because sometimes having all this knowledge and understanding about human relationships, we really want to come and dish out everything that I know about what we can do to help you. But a lot of times when we take time to listen, the answers come up naturally. And a lot of times we do have the answers within ourselves, but we just need the time and the platform to just slow down and think through and reflect upon what is it that we really want. Yeah. So just a recap of some common pitfalls. A lot of times grandparents are and children are very gung-ho together because they got the same enemy called the parents. Yeah, but I hope it's not in your household. Yeah, so common pitfalls that we hear: buying your grandkids, overindulging in them, trying to be the parent, which we talked about earlier, boundaries, secrets, and speaking ill of parents, right, in front of children. Because at the end of the day, in your grandchildren's eyes, their parents will still be the number one. No matter what, they are their parents. So I think that's something that as grandparents, we do not want to undermine, their role and authority in their lives as well. And sometimes, unfortunately, they might not be the best parents, but I think the truth is they are still their parents. So we do want to respect that as well. So yes, almost ending soon. Yes, conflict management skills, I think this is something we all need, because especially in COVID-19 situation where there's always a lot of tension, a lot of things that we can't seem to get our way sometimes. So the first thing about conflict, before we want to resolve it, we need to understand, so what causes conflict? So like a classic example is, my kids will, like I know some grandparents will like tell the kids, okay, you do this homework quickly, finish, I will go and buy things for you, I will give you this, I'll buy you iPad, bribing the children, and yes, it might work for a while, but that is not the way we want to run the house, because how many things can you buy for a child, to motivate them to do their homework every week, right? So sometimes because of these, parents and grandparents have conflicts, they quarrel over it, and both are not willing to give way. Yeah. So a lot of times it's like thinking my way is the best way. It's either you follow me or, I hands off, The other conflict could be also lack of information, like we talk about a lot of times, you see kids fighting, and then it's very quick for us to, based on the last incident, you see somebody whack the other person, say, okay, so you are the perpetrator, okay, this is the victim. But if you take time to talk more, you find that actually it was the younger one that she tore up the oldest one homework and got the older one so mad that she wanted to hit the young one. And so when we take time to gather our information, we find that we actually see a fuller picture and we are not so quick to judge based on our past experience. Yeah, and the last one is really lack of communication, especially with working from home. A lot of times for us, the tendency is like, yeah, you all should know that we are very busy, so you should help out with the family. You should do this and this and this. But the thing is, it's all in our minds. We have not shared. We don't know our struggles. So there's a lot of assumption. The adult children assume that, okay, I'm busy working, so you are the grandparent, you look after the kids. The grandparent think, now you're at home already, right? So you can take over the house. I will just sit there and watch my TV show, And both having this assumption creates a lot of unnecessary tension because the kids will go haywire because no one's watching them and they're driving everyone up the wall. Yeah, so the lack of communication about what we are thinking doesn't help and creates unnecessary tension as well. So when all these things happen, so do we react? Either we fight, like I mentioned earlier, or we avoid. So some feisty adult children will quarrel, argue, or there are some, the more timid ones, just say, okay, lor, you win, I'll just do what I want. Okay, I give in, But both ways doesn't help because the resentment, the unfulfilled needs are still there. Okay, I'd like to suggest another way to respond, which is takes a bit more effort, but it is better for the family in the long run. Is really to find out what is happening. Don't be too quick to just do a knee-jerk reaction and see your mother is trying to make things difficult again. Don't want to cooperate with us. Always giving in to the grandchildren. Or you see your wife, don't listen to me. So it's that kind of reaction. But if you can calmly sit down and reflect on what's happening, you find that there's actually many solutions to many problems. So let me share with you this quick conflict resolution framework that I came up with. And I thought this was quite cute. Is I listen to you, Bear. So it's a simple framework where first you need to identify an issue. So for example, in COVID, kids are running around, not doing their homework, fighting, and you have to listen to two sides, maybe listen to the grandparents, listen to us, the parents, or listen to children. What's causing all this confusion? Is it because the kids can't focus because the TV is on, the young one's playing, and no one's watching them, everyone's just doing their own thing, and just list it out, talk about it. And it's important to talk honestly and not be quick to shoot anyone down or to judge anyone for that, because all of us have our own right of perspective, right? We can speak for ourselves, but we can't speak for another, right? Once you have come up with what are some of the issues, so like for example, the situation for this family will be like the kid want to play, like my son wants to run, the younger one has one to look after. So we think of different solutions, high up the 3-year-old, I've seen some Facebook posts where you got the kids like plastered to the wall. I say, oh, I wish I could do that to my kids. I can't. Yeah. So yes, so we nailed out a few options, so we needed someone to attend to the young one and possibly bring him to a room, close the door so that he can play and do his stuff, and then have the older kids outside with the parents to do their SLS. And then and for the meals, it's like, oh, no time to cook, let's just order, pre-order our lunches so that we don't need to worry about another thing, and make sure there are snacks along the way so that the kids can will not get hungry and they can kind of replenish the energy. Yeah, so these are some ideas, and at the end we evaluated and we chose a few options, and then we implemented it, put it into action, right? So, and then finally then we reviewed it and see whether is this something that can work. Yeah. So and it works. So but if it doesn't work, then we have to go back to the brainstorming again. Okay, so this one doesn't work. What other ideas have we not tried? And to evaluate again and then to put in action, right? So this is just a simple framework, but the key thing is really to first listen and first understand. Because when you're able to understand the root of the issue, you find that the solutions come about much more naturally. But when you're just trying to solve the issue from the surface, you find that it will keep coming back again. So at the end of the day, a grandchild is indeed a miracle, but a renewed relationship with your own children is even a greater one. Yeah, I know a story of a mom that had a very strained relationship with her daughter, and because of that, the daughter went overseas and just started a family there and hardly came back. But when the daughter started having grandchildren, then she started communicating with the mom again because it's like, okay, I want my grandchild to know that there are grandparents out there in Singapore, and they started calling and connecting and visiting once in a while, and somehow it kind of the grandchild built a bridge back for the daughter and the mom, and I think that's a beautiful thing that at the end you not just gain a grandchild, but you gain a renewed relationship with your own adult child. And I think that is most important, that if you enter into this new season of grandparenting, that not to neglect your adult child and to see it as an opportunity for you to really strengthen the bonds that you already have, that you have already placed into your own children, and to really continue the legacy that you have left. So lastly, some practical tips will be to respect. I think I can't say this again, but really it's about respecting each other, respecting each other's space, respecting that your adult children might have different opinions. They might prefer to eat organic food, or they might want to do certain things. But I guess, if it doesn't harm or kill anyone, it's fine. Yeah, so sometimes you have to agree to this period and give them a space to build their own identity, because every family has their own unique identity, and that's the thing that they will hold close to their heart. But the beautiful thing is when grandparents are part of this identity, it makes it even more valuable, right? So and there's a much support that comes. It not just benefits the grandchild, it benefits the adult parent, your adult child. It also benefits you as you enter into your golden years. And for our center, we run a senior activity center, and I see many seniors very sad, estranged relationships with their children. They hardly see their grandchildren. They don't even know what's happening in their lives. And sometimes some of these things, if we could have gotten it right, put priorities right, and sometimes it's to also just forgive one another. You find that then relationships can be mended. Life is really too short to live with broken relationships, right? So some tips during this season to be a better grandparent, especially for those that are staying with their grandkids. So I hope you are keeping your cool, that your kids are not driving you nuts. Yeah, so be clear about what do you want in your, what role you want to play in your child's life. Okay, you want to be a very involved one. I want to influence, build character in my grandchild. Or I just want to be the fun one. I just play only I'm not going to discipline your child. I'm just going to have fun with your kids. Go and spoil them. And communicate with your children your expectation and their expectations, and the rules that they have for grandchildren. And really enforce, and then help to enforce the agreed discipline for bad behavior. So I think the current approach is in my household is anything, that my mother-in-law always call us and they always say, we'll check back with your parents, okay? So she really respects our role as father, as their parents, and she always directs the kids back to checking in with us. And so there's always that mutual respect. And sometimes we'll empower her and say, okay, you can go and discipline, you can do what. And we trust that she will be aligned to what we desire for our children as well. Yeah, so all this comes with regular communication, sharing about our desires, our hopes, our values, what is important to us as a family. During this period, make home conducive with routine. Routine is very important. No matter whether they fall or not, try to have a routine. So eventually they will get into it. Give yourself some slack, because kids being kids, there's a little they are limited, in their attention span and things they can do, and they can get bored after a while. So routines are good, general routines, rules with consequences we've talked about earlier, and important things to celebrate. So now whenever my kid finishes one SS module, we say, yay, okay, you can get a drink, you can get a snack, you can go and run around for a while, then come back, and do the next module. So we celebrate little achievements as well, according to the abilities of our grandchildren. Spend quality time. I think if a lot of them are stuck with their gadgets, do things that can be more interactive, like cooking. Later I'll share with you a list of some things you can do in upcoming school holidays. If you're not staying with them, stay connected online, talk to them, and don't talk about, oh, how's the school, but talk to them about their friends, what you like doing in school, and share your stories as well growing up, or stories of your children, which is their parents, how they were like growing up, and these are things that really gives them a bigger perspective of life, how life can be. So recently it was quite fun, they took photos of my husband when he was a child, and then we were like comparing with our kids, and it was quite funny, like, it's quite fun to laugh over it and to say, hey, you look at your dad, or things like that. Yeah. So I think in this stressful moments, we need to find time to remember the good things and to learn to laugh and to enjoy one another. Yeah. So the other one is to, remember to make time for your own activities. As much as in the whole day you're busy attending to your grandchild, make sure you carve an hour or two to just do your own thing, do your reading, watch your favorite TV show, listen to music, or just to chill, because you also need to take care of yourself. You also need to make sure that you get the exercise that you need, rather more than just running around with kids, but to be stretching in all the other correct places as well. Yeah. Yeah. So these are some of the things that you can do with your grandchildren during the holidays. Like I mentioned, show photos, because you probably have, if they are staying in your house, you probably have hard copy photos. For grandfathers, you can try and make toys out of recycled materials. You can teach them to cook, bake. You can get the teenagers to show you how to game or use Instagram. You can even do YouTube cooking video or gardening. Or even host a Facebook live broadcast if you've got a lot of your family members, on Facebook, sing, watch a movie, exercise together, sing, and or just simply video call with your other grandchildren that are not staying with you, and we are mindful that in COVID-19, for our seniors, you will be more vulnerable to the virus. So we just want to encourage you and remind you to really protect yourself, really take care of yourself, stay home, reach out to your children if you need help with any of groceries, at times when you feel stressed, acknowledge your feelings and find an avenue to express feelings. And if, let's say, it could be feelings towards your adult children or your grandchildren, find someone outside your home so you can talk and really share openly about your struggles, so that at least sometimes there's no solution to it, but sometimes by just sharing, it kind of help us make sense of what we're going through. Stay connected online with others, so not just limited to your family, but your friends as well. Continue to show care to others, do nice stuff for each other, do special treats. I think it keeps the positive vibe in the home as well. And at the end, keep things in perspective. This would end soon, and you're all able to go out to the parks and let the kids run freely and really do all the things that you used to do before. But if really, really cannot take it anymore, there are hotlines that you can call. So I'm going to just flash. You might want to take a picture of that. So there's a national care hotline for general calls for all ages. AIC will be Agency Integrated Care, will be more senior related. So for some of you might be even caring for some of your own family members who might be also elderly. So this is a platform where you can get support. Careline for our seniors, Caregiver Alliances if you're a caregiver, SOS, and ComCare if there's need for financial help and aid as well. Yeah. So in conclusion, focus on what's important, right? Family, we may not have it all together, but together we have it all. So I think, at the end of the day, despite everything, we just tell ourselves that, what is more important? Are we strengthening family relationships, or are we tearing it apart? And sometimes, the way is really to agree to disagree and to just release, forgive if needed. And you find that the journey will be much more lighter, will be more bearable, and and you can really have fun in journeying down your silver and golden years ahead. Yes. So I hope you have enjoyed my webinar. So if you have any questions, you can post in the chat. We'll be sending you the feedback form shortly by email. So do feel free to give us feedback on how you enjoyed the webinar, and also how we can make it better. So we want to thank you in advance for your feedback, and do follow Families for Life Facebook for more family 365 webinars, and share the care with your families and other loved ones too. Right? So stay home. So let's see if there's any questions. Any questions? I don't think we have any questions. Apologies of dragging it a bit late. Yeah. So stay home, stay safe, and stay healthy, everyone. God bless and good night, everyone. Thank you very much.